This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Former Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir to serve 2 years in a social reformatory and have his money confiscated. Rwanda to keep its border with Uganda closed as delegates tried to resolve standoff. And British Prime Minister Johnson meets newly elected Conservative Party MPs in Northern England. Hello and welcome. You're watching Africa Live. We're coming to you live from Nairobi. I'm Hannah Vivier. Here are more stories coming up in the program. Djibouti launches the largest Chinese invested chemical factory in the Horn of Africa. And in sports news, Kenya's Rayton Okwiri looking to end his year on a high as he defends his Africa Boxing Union middleweight title. Sudan's Omar al-Bashir has been found guilty of corruption. He was also charged with illegal possession of foreign currency. Al-Bashir admitted to receiving $25 million from Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He claimed the payments were part of a strategic relationship between the two countries. Here's CGTN's Asatal with the details.
The former president, Omar al-Bashir, sat in a courtroom as a judge handed a guilty verdict. Khartoum's criminal court sentenced him to 2 years. He will serve them in a social reformatory. Under Sudanese law, those over 70 cannot be imprisoned. Bashir is 75.
This is a legal mistake because the 70-year-old in Sudanese law, according to Article 33 of the law, cannot be in prison at all, but in exile, not imprisonment. This trial is also considered a political rather than a legal trial because the judge cited some political issues in his judgment.
Months of protests in Sudan resulted in an army coup, which ended Bashir's rule. He still faces charges related to the killings of protesters before his ouster. He also faces charges related to the 1989 coup, which brought him to power. None of these Sudanese cases are linked to the charges he faces at the ICC. The Hague has requested he stand trial for the alleged war crimes committed during the Darfur War. According to the UN, 300,000 people were killed and 2.5 million displaced during the conflict. Astatal, CGTN.
The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs has condemned the execution of 4 abducted humanitarian workers. The Islamic State West Africa province released a video late Friday on the executions. The kidnapping was done by a faction of Nigeria's militant group Boko Haram, which is allied to Islamic State. The abduction reportedly took place on July 26 in Damasak region near Lake Chad. The group abducted included four men, a driver, and a woman. They were on their way to provide humanitarian support to victims of Boko Haram violence. One of the aid workers was reportedly executed in late September. The woman, identified as Grace Taco, is however still being held by the terrorists. UN Humanitarian Coordinator in Nigeria, Edward Kalon, says the international community is deeply saddened by the killings of the aid workers. According to him, the incident could jeopardize access to humanitarian support in the region. The Rwandan government says its border with Uganda will stay closed until they are sure their citizens are safe. Rwanda accuses Uganda of arresting its nationals and keeping them in illegal detention centers without trial. As Isabel Nakira reports, delegates representing the two sides met in the Ugandan capital, Kampala.
Opening up of Rwanda's border with Uganda could take much longer. The border has been closed since February this year, paralyzing trade. The Rwandan government says it still needs an explanation from Uganda why several of its citizens are missing.
Since January 2018, we have more than 1,430 people who were dumped at the border, Rwandan border. When we have that situation, we can't say that it promotes trade when those people who are doing business in Uganda cannot do business in Uganda because they are arrested, this is, in our sense, a kind of border closure. So we need to first solve the issues.
Accusations of espionage between the two countries have led to tensions. Uganda says those Rwandans arrested committed crimes.
One of the issues that Uganda raised was infiltration of Uganda security agencies by the Rwanda government and its people. That issue has been discussed and will continue to be discussed. And that is the reason why people are detained.
Discussions also focused on Rwanda's claims that Uganda is keeping its dissidents.
The issues that were raised by Rwanda, but also that are in the two documents that we have already signed, mainly the armed groups that are operating here in Uganda and are getting support. We have discussed and we have provided information. We have provided names, and our counterparts in Uganda promised to look into the information that we have provided.
The meeting that was attended by delegations from Angola and DR Congo agreed to quickly find solutions to ease the tension between the two countries. This was a follow-up meeting after the two presidents signed an agreement in Angola in August committing to improving trade, security and relations between the two countries. Both Rwanda and Uganda have agreed to consult with their presidents before coming up with a way forward. But the two countries are committed to finding lasting peace by desisting from acts of hostilities against their governments. Isabel Nakiria, CGTN, Kampala.
The President of the Democratic Republic of Congo made his first State of the Nation address in Parliament on Friday. In his address to lawmakers, President Felix Tshisekedi pledged to restore peace and draw in more foreign investment. He also condemned the recent attack on UN peacekeepers in the eastern city of Beni and pledged to end the conflict.
Hundreds of Congolese legislators converged on Parliament for President Tshisekedi's first State of the Nation address. The DRC has been grappling with a number of epidemics, corruption and conflicts since President Tshisekedi took over office in January this year. But the new leader promised to work with the international community to end those problems. He condemned the recent protests against the UN peacekeeping mission by residents of the eastern city of Beni.
I deplore and condemn the resurgence of violence and the attack against the UN peacekeeping mission in the East. MONUSCO will not stay in the DRC forever. There will come a time when they will leave.
The eastern city has seen an increase in rebel attacks since the end of October. Local authorities say more than 100 people have been killed by members of the Allied Democratic Forces, a Ugandan Islamist group operating in eastern DRC. President Tshisekedi assured his country that his government will wipe out the rebels in the troubled region.
Military force is not the only solution to the conflict in the East. It also requires a political, economic and diplomatic intervention. My government will do everything possible to restore peace in the east of the country.
Some Congolese praised the president for promising to create jobs and ending the conflict in eastern DRC.
The president has assured us that the insecurity in the east will be dealt with. That's very good to hear. We support his vision of building a great nation.
We congratulate the president for his wonderful speech. He should now translate it into action and continue putting the people first.
President Tshisekedi also paid tribute to Congolese citizens who won international awards and called on all citizens to play a role in transforming the country. The president outlined a number of social and economic projects that he believes will improve the lives of Congolese citizens. But the DRC has had a long history of corruption, which has hampered the implementation of previous projects. Many Congolese hope that things will be different this time round. Chris Chamringa, CGTN, Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo.
Well, fresh off a stunning victory, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is in northern England to meet newly elected Conservative Party lawmakers. The region's traditional support for the Labour Party was wiped out in this week's election. Over time, working class constituencies have suffered as mines and factories closed down. In 2016, they voted overwhelmingly to leave the European Union. On Wednesday, they switched to Conservatives because of Johnson's promise to deliver Brexit. He's now set to start a process next week of pushing Brexit legislation through Parliament to ensure Britain leaves the EU by the January 31st deadline. Well, it's time now for us to take a short break and return. More news, including Djibouti launches the largest Chinese-invested chemical factory in the Horn of Africa. And we tell you how a Ugandan woman has turned rats into a source of wealth.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Welcome back. Well, Djibouti has inaugurated a Chinese-invested chemical factory that produces sodium bromide and caustic soda. The factory is part of the three-phase development project of the Lake Assal, the lowest on-land point in Africa. CGTN's Daniel Flecker tells us more.
The salt-derived chemical production plant has been constructed by Chinese Salt Investments, a subsidiary of the China Communications Construction Company. An investment worth $200 million was put into the project by the Chandang Heidong Chemical Holdings Company. And the first phase of the factory is expected to produce 20 million kilograms of export-destined sodium bromide per year. This will help in the diversifying of Djibouti's exports, and thus the earning of hard currency.
After the completion of the first two projects, bromine chemicals production capacity will reach 52,000 tons, which will bring more than $5 million in tax revenue to Djibouti and provide more than 1,000 jobs in this region.
Djibouti's president, Omar says that the plant is a milestone in the country's efforts to industrialize and diversify its economy.
This production of sodium bromide will be also completed by the on-site production of caustic soda and chlorine. Rather than solely focusing on extraction of raw salt, the company chose to focus on the production of salt derives. This choice is a good choice because it has an incontestable economic and industrial rationale. That's why I congratulate the investors who made this strategic choice, which is not easy, a priority for our country where the culture of industries, especially chemical industries, shows a real deficit.
Djibouti is endowed with precious natural resources and a strategic geographic location. But even though this is the case, the country still suffers from poverty and unemployment problems. The hope is that investments such as this one will help in reducing poverty and creating employment opportunities. Daniel Plafker for CGTN.
In many parts of Africa, rats are considered as pests, but one woman in Uganda is rearing them for a living. Aisha Ekum sells laboratory rats to schools for study purposes, and as CGTN's Hilary Ayesiga reports.
Aisha Ichim is a teacher by profession, but she also breeds rats as a side business. She's been doing this for 3 years now from her farm in Wakiso, central Uganda.
The fact that I got to find out that these animals are quite lucrative, they are quite expensive. Yes, you can easily get the profits within a short period of time.
Ichum supplies rats to more than 50 academic institutions and research centers.
Each student requires 15 rats a year on average. and that is 5 in term 1, 5 term 2, and 5 term 3. We have never run short of supply because she's always there and she has always had as many as we want.
A mature rat costs between $5 to $6, and healthy rats can produce over a dozen pups every 6 weeks. Aisha rears close to 1,500 rats in these cages. She's now planning to expand her business to meet the growing demand for lab specimen. But like any other business, this one also has limitations.
But because they're overcrowded, you find out that these rats have been attacked by a particular disease. So in between, you have to incur expenses of vaccinating them, treating them.
But Ichum is committed to keeping her rats as healthy as possible to feed the growing demand, with the hope to one day expand her business into exports. Hilary Isiga, CGTN, Wakiso, Central Uganda.
This is Africa now. We're at the Durban University of Technology. Students are getting ready to jet off to China. They'll be taking part in the annual Chinese winter camp. The students were chosen for their academic success in Mandarin. CGTN's Travis Andrews has more on this.
It's been hard work and determination, but the effort put in over the years finally paid off, because these lot have been given an opportunity of a lifetime to experience the majestic wonders of China. They will be joining a group of 17 other Mandarin students who were top of their class at the Durban University of Technology's Confucius Institute. The winter camp is out to give them a better understanding of China, improve their Mandarin proficiency, and also build close relationships with other students.
Duration is about 2 to 3 weeks, 15 days roughly. So they will have the chance to learn Mandarin there and learn some basic Chinese traditional culture like the calligraphy or Chinese painting and martial arts and dancing, some special courses there.
They will join more than 1 million other people around the world that are actively learning Mandarin, a language that is increasingly unlocking new opportunities, especially for students in Africa.
I'm doing IT because I love it. Then I've indulged myself in Mandarin studies so that I can go to China maybe for great opportunities in my field of study. So I think they are going to help me very much. They've already helped me by learning this. I know how to speak now. We are going there to get more information about Mandarin and China as a country.
The students enrolled in the Mandarin course are pursuing careers that China is a leader in, including textiles and information technology. For them, the trip is not just meant to be a once-off, but building blocks to their future.
China is the heart of clothing and textile things like that, textile materials. So as in China, there are these industries that are dealing with cotton and stuff like that. I was also interested maybe to go and learn in China for furthermore knowledge about my course that I chose.
Besides a number of Chinese cultural visits and learning programs, the students will also learn about Chinese tea making, tour local sites, and also get a taste of various regional cuisines. For many students, the Chinese winter camp is not just educationally beneficial, it's also about the people-to-people connections. The new bonds being developed with other university students in China that will grow and last well beyond their first trip to the East. Travis Andrews, CGTN, Durban.
Well, it's time now for us to take a short break and return your sports news, including Ghana Premier League set to resume after a 1-year suspension over corruption in federation.
Images may appear to be identical, but looks can be deceiving. The difference is not always obvious. It has to be discovered. There are always different sides to a story. We put the focus on the details. To see more, to understand better. CGTN. See the difference.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa.
Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
Welcome back. It's time now for your sports news. We start with Ghana football, where the country's Premier League is set to resume a year after the competition was stopped following a corruption scandal that ripped the Ghana Football Association. CGTN's Nabil Ahmed Rafai reports from Accra.
Players of Ghanaian football club Inter Allies are back on the pitch, getting ready for the 2019-2020 Premier League season. They have been out of competitive football for over a year.
We can't really get anything from football now because of the league has been off. So the league coming back, we're really happy about that.
Football activities in the country came to a halt last year following a corruption scandal that hit the Ghana Football Association. Football governing body FIFA handed the former GFA president Kwesi Nyantakyi a lifetime ban. The Ghana Referees Association also suspended 74 referees for allegedly taking bribes to influence matches. With the resumption of the Premier League, some club managers say they hope things will be different this time around.
We were told that the referees have gone through some integrity tests, if my memory serves me right, 2 times. I hope they will learn something out of what has happened to all of us.
And the Ghana Football Association has a huge task to redeem its dented reputation, starting with this Premier League.
There are some new innovations or administrative guidelines the FA is bringing on board to make sure that we help referees to give up their best. Part of it is to institute new welfare schemes for the referees, make sure that their allowances are paid on time, also make sure that there is minimal contact between appointed match referees and clubs.
Some football analysts, however, are against the start of the league now and want it next year. But the GFA says it had to start the league in December in order to realign its calendar with that of CAF and FIFA next year.
The 2019-2020 Ghana Premier League has 18 teams competing for the ultimate prize. The bottom 5 at the end of the season will be relegated to the Division 1 league.
An outcome Inter Allies FC hopes to kick back against.
In this situation, we want to survive, be in the league, and then we move on to the next season.
These players say they are not only happy to be back in competitive football, they hope to stay in the league till it ends in July next year. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, CGTN, Accra, Ghana.
Rayton Okwiri has had a fantastic 2019 where he won the Africa Boxing Union middleweight title. The Kenyan boxer is out to retain his belt, but he needs to stop Congolese fighter Augustine Matata later tonight. Here's CGTN's Astatal with more.
Since turning into a professional boxer after the 2016 Olympics, Rayton Okwiri has managed to establish himself as a top fighter on the continent. The Kenyan has managed to win 4 of his 6 fights via knockout, 1 of them by unanimous decision and 1 draw. This is what earned him the Africa Boxing Union middleweight title that is now on the line.
Right now, I'm preparing for my ABU title defense that will be on the 14th at City Hall in Nairobi. I will be facing an opponent from DRC who is based in South Africa and is known as Augustine Matata.
Okwiri is famously known as Boom Boom and has become a thing of legend for his knockout performances, having knocked out his last 4 opponents. And since he will be fighting at home, the fans are baying for blood against the Congolese fighter.
My team and I have been observing his style, and we do have our game plan, and if he falls into a trap, I will end the fight early. But he is not an easy opponent. This will be a tough fight, and if you check his record, he has so far fought 7 fights and won all 7 fights. This means he is an experienced boxer, and so you cannot underrate him.
Okwiri is well aware of the threat posed by the hard-hitting Congolese fighter, but believes in his ability to retain the title he won in September.
He has power, that I cannot deny, but you know, power without skills is nothing. Speed and skills are key for my victory in this upcoming fight, where we have a very good plan to defeat him. If he depends on power, and boxing is not all about power alone, you have to mix up all the elements, which I have. I believe in my power, and if I catch anyone, it's a knockout.
Okwiri will be looking to end the year as the ABU middleweight champion. But ahead of him is an undefeated boxer from Congo, who is also hungry to dethrone the king. A win for Okwiri will ensure that Kenya remains in possession of its only Africa Boxing Union title. Astatal, CGTN.
To South Africa now, where Mark Boucher has been named as the new head coach of the national cricket team, the Proteas. The 43-year-old played 147 tests and 295 one-day internationals before retiring from the team due to an eye injury. A former wicketkeeper, Boucher was struck in the left eye by a flying ball during a tour match against Somerset, leading to his retirement in 2012. Enoch Nkwe will assist Boucher as his side prepares for the upcoming test series against England that kicks off on Boxing Day in Centurion. Faf du Plessis was also confirmed as South Africa's test captain. Returning to the English Premier League, where a brace from Egypt striker Mohamed Salah has inspired Liverpool a 2-0 win over Watford to lift them 9 points clear at the top of the table. The hosts were in control for much of the first half, but had to wait until the 38th minute for the opener. Sadio Mane sent the ball in from the left to play in Salah for the opener. Watford saw two good chances go begging either side of the goal before Salah got the score sheet again with a back heel in the last minute to leave Watford still bottom on 9 points. Second place Leicester dropped points when they were held 1-1 at home by Norwich City, while Chelsea have been stunned 1-0 by Bournemouth at Stamford Bridge. Sheffield United outclassed Aston Villa 2-0 as a storming season back in the EPL continues. Well, Brazil, Colombia and Japan have each submitted formal bids to host the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup a day after Australia and New Zealand announced their joint bid. The four submissions come amid an unprecedented interest from member countries, with the upcoming edition of the tournament set to be the first to feature 32 teams. The most recent Women's World Cup in France enjoyed record TV audiences and high attendance, with the United States winning a record 4th title. FIFA will evaluate the potential host during January and February before the FIFA Council selects the winning bid at its June 2020 meeting in Addis Ababa. Well, that's it for this edition of Africa Live. Remember, you can send your feedback to the contacts on the screen and follow us on digital media platforms. For me, Hannah Vivier, and the rest of the Africa Live team, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
African artists who have made it big on the global stage are few and far between. Among them is Chief Niki Davis Okundaye, a Nigerian textile artist and painter. At 68 years of age, Mama Niki, as she's fondly referred to, is an icon in her own right. With a career spanning 5 decades, the Textile Queen's art pieces grace some of the most prestigious art galleries in the world, and her fabrics are celebrated as contemporary jewels of traditional African art. Today, Mama Niki is on another mission, to pass on generations of knowledge and skill to the future custodians of Nigerian cultural heritage. I sat down with Mama Niki at the Niki Art Gallery to explore her unrivaled passion for art, her mastery in the business of textiles, and her quest for cultural preservation in Africa. From Lagos, Nigeria, I am Yofefe, and this is Talk Africa.
To the eastern side of Nigeria's bustling commercial capital of Lagos is the peninsula of Lekki, which serves as a home to the world-renowned Niki Art Center, West Africa's largest known art gallery. The Niki Art Center houses contemporary and traditional Nigerian art and has over the years established itself as only part of a culmination of over 5 decades of work that its founder, Chief Niki Davis Okundaye, put into her passion. But her portfolio of art centers does not end here. Her headquarters sits in the city of Oshobo, with at least 2 other art centers in the cities of Ogidi and the capital city of Abuja. The African Queen of Art and Textile has also mastered the art of giving back. Her center in Oshobo, which started off with 20 homeless girls, has today overseen the training of over 3,000 youth who survived abuse. The center in Oshobo further opened its doors to international students for industrial programs in textile design, welcoming trainees from other African countries, the USA and Europe. Chief Niki's work has not gone without global recognition. In April 2019, she received an honorary doctorate degree of fine art from the Rhodes University in South Africa. In 2015, a plaque of achievement was launched in her honor by the National Block Art Theatre of New York, and earlier in 2012, she also received a plaque of honor from the Nigerian Council of Art and Culture, as well as recognition from the National Commission for Museums and Monuments. The 68-year-old custodian of art attributes her success to not just her craft in art and textile, but also the support she has received from her family, and most of all, her husband.
First thing a man should discover in his wife, the talent that God has given her. Once you discover that, you will now help her to boost that talent.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mama Niki. Now, the Adire is what you are famous for. It's a Nigerian fabric which was on the brink of extinction, but now it has come back to life thanks so much to your efforts. And from there, you've gone on to many other forms of artistic expression. In fact, you just recently celebrated 50 years of artistic creation in the business world, and they threw you a huge party. What was running through your mind? Because as I understand, it was family, friends, and your fans from all over the world that came to the party.
Yes, I thank you people for taking time from no time to visit the gallery, because when you talk about art, it's our treasure in Nigeria. And the way they pass education to kids in those days, that is how I learned the textile art from my parents. And learning this textile, I lost my mother at the age of 6. I lost my grandmother at the age of 7. Then I have to have a focus and see how I can make life through art, because I was just doing it. And my great-grandmother is the head of all the women in the village, and she was passing this knowledge to me. I was crying every day. I said, why? I want to go to school. Why do you want me to be doing Adire? But today, I thank God because that adire that is dying off has come back to life. I do it and I die it. It's what they call adi, are, adire. And the whole Nigeria is the work that people pass on to their generation. In Kano, they pass indigo pit and tie and dye. In the Cross River, they do stitching and they dye it. All the different parts, the Yoruba paint with feather and cassava. So the whole Nigeria, the textile that they know Nigeria for is called, I do it, adire, I dye it.
I didn't realize that, but you know, it's interesting you mentioned your own story, which is so fascinating. You were in a way kind of born into this because the village you're from, Odiji Njuma, is the village where adire is practiced. And I just assume there are many, many women making these fabrics. What is it, Mama Niki, about your adire that has made it stand out and become internationally acclaimed? Is it your unique patterns and motifs?
Yes, the pattern and the communication, which is through the pattern of adire, is what I'm still following up, because the secret of adire, they always say we are not going to let anybody know. But that pattern has to be written down, and my daughter has wrote a book on that pattern. And what makes my own adire to stand out is the way we are still following the old tradition. Before telephone come, they talk through the fabric. When you go to Abeokuta, they make oloba. Ibadan create a design called Ibadan is sweet. Ibadan, we enjoy Ibadan. That design is created in Ibadan. Then the one in Abeokuta, why they call it oloba? When the king and the queen come from UK, it was Abeokuta who made the stencil adire, and all the people that welcomed the king were wearing it. They are telling him, we are happy. You are a king, and they put the picture of the king on the pattern. So that is what makes our own adire stand out. And that is the knowledge I'm passing to the whole university in Nigeria. My center in Osogbo is my headquarters, where when you go there now, you will not see less than 80 to 100 students. Then my real village is called Ogidi, Ijumu in Kogi State. We still have about 300 women who are practicing the adire, and they are employing them to come and teach in different organizations now, because adire that is dying off is coming back. Actually, adire come from Indonesia, the batik, the world batik, India and Indonesia. They are the one who call it batik. Uganda call it Kampala.
So it's kind of a universal type of process. I've got to ask, is this heavy?
Actually, this is called gelegala. Professor Wale Soyinka gave this head tie gelegala. He said on gala night in UK, when they go for the horse riding, everybody wear the most beautiful hat. And you know, in Africa, Nigeria love their head tie. And this head tie is our crown. A woman, every woman in Nigeria is a queen of their husband. And the queen has to wear the crown. And the crown is our head tie. Or sometimes we braid our hair to make it like a crown. So this head tie is not heavy. I do it in 2 minutes. I put it on in 2 minutes because people are paying a lot of money. And it's taking almost 1 hour, sometimes half an hour to put the head tie. So we now call it auto gele. The one they are doing just 1 step. But my own, as I started the gele gala, is 3 or 4 steps.
It seems like you were destined to be in the artistic world, right? As you've mentioned, you were born to parents, both of your parents were artists of different kinds. And you were born also on this Western Nigeria village, which was also home to artisans who made adire. So as a child, when was it that you got switched on to the fact, hey, I'm quite good at this?
When I finished primary 6 and I don't have money, I passed secondary school. I don't have money to go to school. I was crying to my great-grandmother. He said, don't worry, just do this. You will make it. Then I said, do this. But I have no money to start. So I went to be a babysitter with an Indian woman. So at that place, I will be doing embroidery and the beads on the, so I will use it to make an angel and they will put it on the altar. That is how I said. So the Reverend sisters are now buying it to put it on the altar. Then I said, oh, maybe what I'm doing, I should not even do babysitter anymore. I should just focus on the textile.
And this is when you were about 14 years
yes,
old?
14 years old.
Primary 6.
Yes.
Something quite traumatic happened at this point in
yes.
your life. You actually dropped out of school
yes.
and you ran away from home.
Yes.
Tell us about that period.
My father is a farmer and also an artist who have nothing. So at the age of 14, he actually wanted to marry me out to a minister. And the minister is giving him money. So one day, where I'm doing my babysitter, he just come and say, oh, I want to marry you out. I say, you want to marry me at the age of 13, 14? That is how I run away. I now join a traveling theater. From there, I learned how to dance, how to sing, I'm a child person, very like people who are very shy. So I have to go on stage for me to be able to eat. So they now put me on stage. I have to be dancing with the other professional. That is how I started the theater. So for 2 years, I was going with the theater all over, and that is what really made me focus and said, let me do the art that I know how to do. When they withdraw me back from the theater to the village, I said, I'm not going to stay in this village. What am I going to be doing? Let me go to Osogbo, where my mother's sister married. And my great-grandmother said, don't go, just stay with me. I said, okay, but I cannot sell my work here. So in Osogbo, all of the women there, they do adire, and my mother's sister is one of the leaders of the adire maker. Then she said, you will be working with me. I will be selling it, and I will look after you. That is how I moved to Osogbo.
So even through the twists and turns of life, the
yes.
art kind of followed you wherever yes. you go. And when you eventually made your way to Osogbo, you did eventually marry, not
yes.
too many years
yes.
later.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about this first marriage of yours.
Okay, when I married to this man, who is one of our renowned artists, his name is 277, and he now make me the studio manager. So he said because of the work I'm doing, he want to marry me. Then there is a woman called Susan Wenja in Osogbo. I now went to her. I said, I want to be like her. She was married to a drummer. She's a white woman. And she come to Osogbo. She is the one who started the Osogbo school with Georgina Bayer. So then I went to her, I showed her my work. He said, you are already a professional. Why don't you focus on that and do it well? But this, my first husband, married 14 wives after me. So we are now 15 wives. Every day we quarrel, but we don't tell people. We said we are practicing traditional religion. It's not actually traditional. We have no choice because today we bring this one. We say, oh, this one will be your, this one is going to be the cook. So when you are working, you don't need to cook. This one is a dancer. That is how we get to 15. But when I get the opportunity of going to US and come back, they are the first people I teach how to do the adire. I said, this thing, you can make money through it. Beside us working for our husband, let me teach you. Then I said, there is a place where we don't all need to marry to one man. So they said, take me there. Then I said, your work will take you there. That is how we make a little meeting and say, why do we even marry to this man? He said he's just so happy to see two women fighting on him. And he's a handsome man. That is why he married to us. Then we said, okay, we now make a meeting. I said, I had enough, I'm going. I left him, I lived there for 15 years. I left in 1982. And that is how the other women also followed. And we are able to get our independence. Each one of us find another man to marry. So I now married to a white man, having 2 golden babies. Then the white man finished job. He want to go back to UK. Then it is cold. And what I'm doing, I have liberated some of the women. And if I leave, they will go back to the same condition that we will have to go and beg the man so he can take you back. Since you are making money through your own, and you can get a man to yourself. So then I told him I want to stay here. So that is how I now married to police. With this man, I learned so much, everything about law from him, how everything has to be documented properly, because government is very ijoba lagba. Government is very important. So I learned about all the things that we don't even count as anything.
It's time for us to take a short break. Don't go away. We'll be back with more wisdom from Mama Niki.
Life moves pretty fast. Ideas move at the speed of sound. Technology moves at the speed of light. If you don't filter out the noise, you might miss the details. We pay attention to the details because they matter, showing you a different perspective. See the difference.
Welcome back to Talk Africa. We are here sitting down with Chief Niki Davis Okundeye, who is an internationally acclaimed artist, a painter, a textile designer, and also mama to her own children and countless other artists across Nigeria. Mama, now, speaking of artists, there are so many aspiring artists. There are so many talented artists, but you yourself have said when you started on this journey, you never expected to make a living from the art, but yet you've obviously become very commercially successful as well. So the question for you is, what is the secret to your success?
Well, the secret to my success is I always have a focus, and I always aim at what I want to gain, what I want to do. What I want to do next year, already I have it in plan. So I always package myself well. So when I'm going out, you know, I'm selling textile. I wear the best of my textile. Then I don't speak English much by then. I will say my signature might try. They will say, what? Then I'm saying, beautiful. When you wear this, you will look more beautiful. So that is how I was selling my clothes before I started selling the painting. So those people that I was training, their children are some of the artists that you are seeing their work here. I always mentor the other women. Then when they are working, their children is playing around, then I will say, it's better they also learn. That is how they pass education to me. A lot of these, my artists, their parents are textile artists. And from there, they use the money of the textile to train them to university, and they become a professional. Rom's mother was in Oshogbo. She was a nurse. She's very, very active. Whenever we want to have a baby, we go to her. But she's a professional nurse. But because we are close as textile, the son went to university and become an artist, and here is me selling his work. So all the work you see here, I'm just a custodian. My own work is not even up to 200 here, but we have 25,000 pieces here. And when we sell, the secret to my success is I don't take much commission. I take 10%, and I give 5% to the government. Whatever I sell, I will call them. I will say, this is how much they are paying. So you don't need to give me percentage if I undersell your work. And that is why all the artists always come. They call me their mama. Sometimes they will say, I just have a baby, and so. Every Sunday, the male artists come for a meeting, and their club, then they eat. Then the Saturday is for female artists in the evening. So the success today, I always encourage them. I will say, have a focus. Package yourself in a nice way. The sky is your beginning. Whatever you know you are good at, do it well. And that is what is helping my success till today.
On this area where you've made so much contributions, there are, I believe, 5 today, the Niki Art Centers across Nigeria, and more than 3,000 students have gone through your doors. Tell us why you decided to do this.
When I see that the way we are suffering and everything they will be saying, government should do this for us, government should do that for us. I said, why don't we be our own brother's keeper, our own sister's keeper? Whatever we have, let's share. Nigeria always share in those days. That is why they have apprentices. So if you are a tailor, you teach the other people how to do tailor. So that is how I said, let me open the center and see many people who have interest in the textile. So I will teach them how to fish, not to eat fish. So I opened the center. You are coming to learn free of charge. My son, my brother, all of us are the teacher when I started. So later on, I said, let me train the trainers. Train you, then you can train others. And that is how the center started to grow. So then I will say, after the training, any work you do is your own. But we do exhibition for you in Lagos. Whatever you sell, the money belongs to you. I will say, go and start your own business. Now you don't need a shelter from me anymore. Let me bring new people in. And that is how I have 5 centers in Nigeria. My headquarters in Osogbo have more students, more than. And the center in Lagos now is in Badore, where we have not opened fully. But the one in Ogidi, we have more than 300 women all the time from that whole area coming to learn how to do the textile. And that is what they are living on.
Would you say you're a feminist,
Oh, I would say something like that, because my own is to make sure women have the power and know their rights, that if they vote, the vote is their voice. Before, I don't normally vote. They say, you have to vote. If you don't vote, how will they know what you are? So the same thing with work. If you don't work, how will you know what you are good at? So all the time, I always say they have to work. Try to change to different style. If the textile is not selling, I can sell watercolor. If the watercolor is not selling, I can sell beadwork. That is why I train them how to do patchwork, how to do textile, how to do painting. Then all the artists that are supporting me are some of the artists like my own brother, and the percentage of 10% that I get, I add my own money to it to put down to buy them material.
Now, in the 50 years of your artistic career, you have produced probably countless pieces of artwork, including the textiles. Which one is your favorite?
I say the beadwork is my favorite because it's like the therapy for me. Whenever I'm doing this beadwork, I don't talk to anybody. I'm doing it in the night, and I can think and relax. That is why people say I don't sleep well. But that is the time I'm calm. So the work that I'm doing by then, I'm working with a spirit, and the spirit is the driver. So when I finish, I will say, oh, this is where I landed. So beadwork is one of the best ones.
Of the beadwork, there's one in particular I'm thinking of. Well, it's the Chibok girls. Tell us about what inspired you to do this piece of work and how long it took.
The Chibok girl, I first do the mothers. What happened is when they take our girls away, the mothers went and protest in the school under the tree. Nobody listened to them. So the picture is on the internet. Then I said, wow, nobody listened. These women are suffering. These are children that has grown in their hand. They suffer to train them. So I now said, maybe I should do a painting to create awareness. When people come, so when they see this painting, they will remember that these children, the mothers are suffering. So 2 years later, the CNN take over all the other news. That is why we always thank you people, the media, for spreading the news to the whole world. So then even Obama's wife is part of the Bring Back Our Girls. So I said, let me do the girls now. They brought part of the girls back, but they are not fully back. So then this work is representing the Chibok girls that the voice, we are telling everybody, please, still bring our remaining guests back. Even one of the Chibok girls, one of my cleaner is marrying to that one who escaped from the Chibok girls. So when she told me the story, I cried. I said, let me make a painting that will make everybody remember. That is why I want people to, whenever they look at the Chibok girls, they will always remember that the girls has not come back. Not all of them come back, maybe 100 and something from 250. So we are still expecting the balance of the girls.
It's such a powerful use of the voice that you have, and certainly took a lot of time. And I understand something like this would cost in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I guess my question is, who are the patrons of these exquisite pieces of art that you create?
Okay, I will say the King of Morocco was here, and she come in. I don't even know he's a president. So she said, I saw your work on TripAdvisor, and I would like to have some. So the King of Morocco, the President of Ghana, the Chibok girls, the work is going to go to Ghana at the end of the day. So the people who are patronizing us, we have Engineer Yemisi Shilon, I will say they are not up to 10% of Nigeria. But Nigeria now are buying, before it's foreigners. People who are not from Nigeria are the ones buying the art in the 60s, in the 70s. So they call it Oshobo art. But now, artists are so many. We have 45 galleries in Lagos. And the pieces of artwork we have here is about 25,000 pieces. And the people who are buying now, I will say 10% of them are Nigerian.
And for all of your achievements, you have been named a chief. In fact, you're a chief of a number of different localities. So it's not just Mama Niki, it's Chief Niki, Queen of Fabric, educator, philanthropist. You've really done it all, Mama Niki. You have wealth, you have a loving family, you have respect. But yet, you have not slowed down. You just, as I understand it, started making jewelry as well. You're moving full steam ahead. What is it that you are trying to achieve at the end of your body of work? What is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
The legacy I want to leave behind is for people to always be creative. And also, their voice is their work, to always work hard towards their goal. They shouldn't go back. There is no more going back. They have to go forward. And that is my own for all the female or men now, because I'm putting men, for them to always have a focus and follow their heart. The jewelry also is wearable art. So Alan used to do jewelry. So when I come back, because my father used to bead, then I said, oh, we should be beading on fabric as well. So we started that one, and now the beading on fabric is popular in Nigeria. So my legacy is for people to continue this art, so the art will never die. So the art will continue to live because it's our treasure, and they value the oil more than the art, but the art should be number one.
Mama Niki, thank you so much for sharing your life story with us. We've learned so much, and I hope we'll have the opportunity in the future to learn more from you. It is said that the principle of true art is not to portray, but to evoke. And Chief Niki Davis Okundaye's artistic journey speaks of a firm grounding in African identity, its endurance in the midst of a fast-changing society, and the vast potential artistic heritage presents to Africa's youth. Thank you for staying tuned to this special episode of Talk Africa. And a warm thank you as well to my guest, Chief Niki Davis Okundaye, for her time. To catch this and previous episodes of Talk Africa, you can visit our social media handles on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Also, visit the CGTN Africa website for more of Talk Africa. Be sure to tune in again next week. From Lagos, Nigeria, I am Liu Feifei. Thank you and goodbye.
This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Russia's recent 4-year ban from all major competitions over doping is a wake-up call to African nations to get their act together in eradicating the vice. On tonight's Sports Scene, we look at the impact of the tough World Anti-Doping Agency sanctions and what they could mean for the continent. Hello and thank you for joining us on another edition of Sports Scene here on CGTN. This is your home for all things African sport from the continent and beyond. Great to have you joining us once again. I'm Maher Mutua in Nairobi. Let's check out what else is coming up on tonight's show. Cape Town hosts final World Rugby Sevens series round as teams battle for main cup honours. And Barcelona and Nigeria Super Falcons star Asisat Oshoala hosts the 5th Football for Girls Championship. Welcome to the program. Now, Kenya has been on the World Athletics Category A watch list since 2016. This listing was due to the high number of doping cases that have been registered by the East African nation. The distance running powerhouse has, however, been fighting the menace, as CGTN's Asta Tal now reports.
Kenya's doping crisis is different from Russia's, despite the fact that the country has been on the World Athletics Category A watch list. However, the country found itself facing a similar ban to Russia's ahead of the 2016 Rio Olympics. But the country embarked on a plan to salvage its image.
The challenge of the situation in Kenya is complex and multi-layered, and we don't have evidence of any system in place, but we need to really understand it. That's why we're here. We need to understand from the athletes where the risk lies and try to identify the risk, remove the risk, and if we do our job in removing the risk, and if the athletes do their job in acting responsibly, then the menace will disappear.
Despite continuous efforts to fight the vice, the nation still has the highest number of sanctioned athletes in the continent and lies number 3 in the world. This has tainted the reputation of the East African nation globally, with their victories on the track, field, and road events being taken with a pinch of salt.
And then, of course, the worst thing is that it gives this country a very bad name. And we don't want to do that. We have been on Category A level for quite some time, and we would like to get out of this. We can only get out of this when we understand each other, when we know what is going on, when the athletes understand the exact issues and the dangers that go with it.
When I go for races and they keep talking about someone who has doped, I feel bad because it's like it's me, because it's a fellow athlete using energy like me. Whenever I hear that a Kenyan athlete has been banned for doping, it's wrong.
Kenya's reputation in the athletics world has been tainted by many doping cases that the nation has had. But the efforts to fight the ill have been ongoing, and as the country continues its dominance at the World Championships and Olympic Games, there is hope that the fight against doping will be won if all the stakeholders come together. Asta Tal, CGTN.
Well, now, at the same time, the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya maintains it is winning the fight against drug cheats despite the country leading Africa in anti-doping rule violations and sanctions. ADAC's CEO has termed the Russia ban by the World Anti-Doping Agency as a wake-up call not just to Kenya, but to all involved in the fight against the vice. He has been speaking to CGTN's Sadiq Shaban.
How many cases, just a number, is the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya dealing with at this point in time?
We have those which have been concluded, which are awaiting judgment. So in total, we are dealing with about 60 cases. Others have been concluded and the judgment has been released. So that is the situation as it is now.
The latest indications from the Athletics Integrity Unit has 6 Kenyans on provisional suspensions and about 34 sanctioned. Again, does this worry you as the person leading the fight against doping in Kenya?
It is an issue of concern because that means that the numbers are still there. The tests that we do and the ones which are done by AIU still are turning positive results in terms of anti-doping rule violations. But to us, again, it indicates that our systems are working.
During this time that we have seen either sanctions or notice of violations being given by Athletics Integrity Unit, we haven't seen anything, touching on the athletes support group and the people around the athletes. So is that an area which you vigorously intend to pursue?
As we are talking now, we have about 7 active cases involving athlete support personnel. Cases which are pending in court, cases which are under investigation. Some of them very close to the level of conviction. I may also want to add that currently we have an active investigation and intelligence unit within the agency. We have officers who have been seconded or lent to us by the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, officers who normally serve in the anti-narcotics unit. And they are actively involved now in investigating, particularly those support personnel.
And speaking of criminalization of doping, the World Anti-Doping Agency frowns upon what it calls double punishment. And Kenya is talking about making doping a criminal offense. Where is the divide here between being compliant with the World Anti-Doping Agency and legitimately taking charge as a country in line with Kenyan laws to be able to tame this and make it a criminal issue?
We are talking about the medical practitioners. We are talking about all those who have a hand in the preparation of the athlete before a competition. And even others, those who peddle and who do the trafficking of the prohibited substances. The criminal sanctions are already there.
The banning of Russia by WADA for 4 years, what message does it send to the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya and Kenya as you look around to turn and slam the brakes on the issue of doping, particularly in athletics?
In Kenya, the situation is totally different. We are grappling with a situation which we just started dealing with 3-4 years ago. We are dealing with a situation where the National Anti-Doping Agency is in its infancy stages, but one which now has established itself to the level that it is being admired in the region because of the structures that it has built within a short time, the capacity that it has built, from a situation where we were doing less than 100 tests in a year 3-4 years ago, 2015, 2016, to a situation where now we are doing over 1,200 tests and growing. We are targeting to reach 1,500 in the coming year. This is a situation which proves that the capacity is growing, that the efforts are there. The support of government towards our efforts is very clear.
To South Africa now, where the country's doping control laboratory in Bloemfontein has been revamped with new state-of-the-art equipment to collect both blood and urine samples for testing from around the continent. The facility's WADA accreditation was revoked in 2017 before being restored in September last year. Here is CGTN's CS Du Plessis with more.
In the space of 18 months, the Doping Control Laboratory at the University of Free State in Bloemfontein has gone from a work in progress to one of the foremost doping control centres in the world. After opting for voluntary suspension in which it had its accreditation revoked by WADA as part of the restructuring process, the testing facility sourced funds, consulted experts in the field from all over the globe, and improved its testing capabilities by introducing new instrumentation and analytical techniques. It has given the South African Institute of Drug-Free Sport the ability to cast the net far and wide in terms of their testing of athletes, meaning drug cheats have nowhere to hide.
I don't think the cases are diminishing. I think the fact that we're catching people, and I think that's thanks to some of the checks and balances in terms of doping is there. I think our doping agency is doing great work. It's unlike other countries. America's got issues. I think Russia's obviously got major issues. Kenya's got issues. From a doping testing point of view, I think from that point of view, I think South Africa is doing amazing work.
Speaking to the CEO of SAIDS, Khalid Galant, earlier today, he only had praise for the lab in Bloemfontein. He maintains giant strides have been taken to improve the quality of testing and that more and more athletes who would have slipped through the cracks are being brought to book. The turnaround times have improved to 10 days and no longer is there need to outsource urine samples to Qatar. He says their staff contingent has gone from 7 to 16, meaning more samples are being processed and that slowly but surely they're winning the fight against doping in sport. CS du Plessis, CGTN, Pretoria.
You're watching Sports Scene here on CGTN. Time for us to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. Here's what's coming up. Cape Town hosts the final World Rugby Sevens series round as teams battle for main cup honours.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
Welcome back. Now, this weekend sees the 4th edition of the Cape Town leg of the World Sevens Series, where both men and women's teams are engaged in a 3-day battle for the main cup. The final event of the year before the season resumes in February is the top stop and highlight of the season for many reasons besides just the rugby. Here is CGTN's CS du Plessis once again.
Cape Town in summer is one of the most spectacular cities not just in Africa, but in the world, according to the hundreds of thousands of visitors to the mother city each year. But when the Sevens rolls into town, the vibe reaches another level, as rugby fans flock to the iconic Cape Town Stadium to watch the rugby, experience the hospitality, and take in the exquisite scenery.
I think first up, the reason why Cape Town is so special is the setting. World Heritage Site, not many Sevens tournaments get played against the backdrop of that. But in my mind, I think it's the best atmosphere wherever you go on the circuit, especially when the home team plays.
The South African women's team will make their debut appearance at the Cape Town event, while for the men, their home tournament is by far their favourite on the World Sevens Series circuit, and always lives up to expectations.
South Africa is a rugby country, so I think that is one of the big moments, and just a big vibe that the people coming out to support us.
It's voted the best sevens tournament for 3 years consecutively, so it just tells you how well-rounded it is. It's not just the playing experience, but the food, the hotel stay, and I reckon the people also of Cape Town make this tournament a really special tournament. So I'd give it a tick all around.
Over the years, the city of Cape Town has gained the reputation of being one of Africa's premier destinations for the hosting of world-class events. And with the Sevens World Cup and Netball World Cup set to take place here in the mother city in the next few years, it has certainly opened the door to even more global events in the future.
We are bidding for the Formula E event as well, so we're constantly trying to recruit more significant events to the city whilst expanding our footprint with smaller and community events, for which we're now signing multi-year agreements, fleshing them out, building on them, adding more legacy components. These all generate more jobs, more economic opportunities.
From an economic standpoint, the event cost the city roughly $170,000 to put on, and in 2017 generated a whopping $50 million over 2 days. This year, the competition takes place over 3 days and will cost slightly more to put on, but could well surpass the amount from 2 years ago. It is a massive return on investment for the city that not only puts on a world-class show on the field, but also off the park for the estimated 100,000 people that come to witness Africa's only stop on the global Sevens circuit. CS du Plessis, CGTN, Cape Town.
And despite a limp start to the season at the Dubai Sevens, The rugby fraternity in Kenya is still confident that the country's national team will bounce back to regain top form. The 2016 Singapore Sevens champions have failed to scale the heights since and even flirted with relegation from core status last season. CGTN's Mohamed Abubakar has more.
It wasn't the start every Kenyan was hoping for, as the Shujaas picked up only 4 points from the opening leg of the World Rugby Sevens circuit in Dubai. Kenya Sevens went through one of their worst campaigns last year, finishing the series in 13th place with a total of only 37 points from all the 10 legs. Despite the slow start this year, Kenyans remain confident that the team will soon find its wheels, especially with the team having had a fairly better pre-season this year compared to last.
We just have to give our coach Finney some time. I mean, he just came the other day. I believe that this team is going to deliver. It's much better than what we had last season. Of course, last season we had so many things, issues to do with contract here and there, but now everyone is available. We beat South Africa at Safari Sevens in Nairobi. That means you can beat them, and that's the same team that went to Dubai Sevens.
Coach Paul Finney, who also doubles up as the technical director of the Kenya Rugby Union, has balanced his team with a fair number of young players and those with wealth of experience.
That's the kind of blend we've always wanted for some time, because now with this mix of youth and experience, I think it's just the perfect balance. There will be a gradual departure of the experienced players, but in the same place, the younger players will be gaining experience, and it will be a beautiful cycle. We'll be able to nurture a lot more. I think it's perfect.
Kenya enjoyed one of their best campaigns in 2018 when they finished 8th, accumulating over 100 points. But bearing in mind last year's performance, a significant climb up the standings this year would be welcomed.
I think when we aim for top 10 this season, that will be very realistic, and this is something that's achievable, to build onto that. And we're only able to build onto that if you're looking at the next season to improve.
When the coach was announcing the squad probably about 3 weeks ago, he said he's targeting a top 8 finish. I think I'll back him up on that. That is a very realistic target, especially when you consider the amount of competition that there is on the World Series. There's no hiding place, and it's good to know where to punch. And if they can do the top 8, that is all good for them.
With the season culminating at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, a good run in the World Rugby Sevens circuit will definitely do the team a lot of good before heading to Japan.
If I look back in 2016 when we were going to Rio for the Sevens, when it was coming back to the Olympics, I mean, those teams that were really doing well in the series went on and did so well at the Olympics. Look at Fiji, they went and won the gold. They won the series that season. I feel that this season and going to next year to Tokyo 2020, if you play well in the 7th series, we prepare well, we know mentally we are good, and the players are okay, they are not injured, we can hack it, because it's the same teams that we play in the series that we're going to play at the Olympics.
Mohamed Abubakar for CGTN, Nairobi.
Let's step into the ring now, and Ghanaian top cruiserweight boxer Brahima Kamoko has set his sights on becoming a world champion despite losing in a recent domestic bout. CGTN's Nabil Ahmed Rufai reports from Accra.
Ghanaian boxer Brahima Kamoko is hitting the road every morning, part of his training on the way to the gym. Known by his fans as Boko Mbanku for his neighborhood and a favorite local meal, he started boxing 30 years ago at age 9.
I want to be a world champion because right now I'm WBO champion and that title's below my standard. I now want WBC, WBA or IBA titles.
His dream of becoming a world champion means constant training and preparation, perfecting his jabs and punches. He first gained international recognition after winning a bronze medal in the heavyweight All-Africa Games in South Africa in 1999. He made his professional debut in 2002.
Brahima Kamoko won the WBO Africa Light Heavyweight title in 2011 and the WBO Africa Cruiserweight title in 2012. However, he suffered from periods of inactivity leading up to his defeat to Ghanaian boxer Bastille Samir in 2017.
Up until he lost to Bastille Samir, he had fought 30 pro fights, winning 29, with 21 by knockout. Last year, he withdrew from a rematch fight with Bastille Samir after signing a deal with promoters of the bout. This raised speculation that the Ghana Boxing Association had revoked his license, but he says he withdrew because he didn't want to suffer another defeat, and the Ghana Boxing Association has denied revoking his license.
I don't have any problem with the GBA. I also don't have a problem with Alex, the promoter, with the money I was given when I signed to fight Basti Samir. We've agreed that when I fight and get money, I'll pay back that signing money.
Ghana has yet to produce a cruiserweight world champion. Many of Kamoko's fans are betting he will be the one to achieve this.
He has so much respect for the sports, and this particular sport, if you have so much respect for the sports, the achievement will be very enormous.
This champion won his first international fight in England in September, and he's determined to keep punching till he makes his way to the top. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, CGTN, Accra, Ghana.
To football now, Nigeria's Super Falcons and Barcelona Femeni star Asisat Oshoala is holding the 5th edition of her Football for Girls clinic in the West African nation. The charity initiative was held in Lagos with over 1,000 girls taking part. The long list of potentials will eventually be cut down to 23 hopefuls that will then be admitted to the Barcelona Academy in Lagos. CGTN's Deji Badmus brings us more.
Trying out their skills before the watchful eyes of local coaches. Around 1,500 girls are playing for a chance to be among those to be shortlisted and get admitted into the Barca Football Academy in Lagos.
We shortlisted 23 who will be playing a select 23 women's squad from the Nigerian Women Premiership League. And then at the end of the day, we'll be shortlisting 3 who will be MVP for this tournament. Those 3 will be getting cash prizes, while the overall MVP would get a cash prize as well as a tour of Spain.
Asisat Oshoala's foundation has been holding the Football for Girls competition for the past 5 years now. It's a 24-year-old Nigerian international's way of empowering young girls through education and sports.
Our aim and our objective is to ensure that alongside playing football, these young girls also focus on their education. Education is very key. So what happens after they are done playing football? What do they fall back on? So that's why education is key for them. We want to blend education and sports, just like the American collegiate system, where education runs side by side with sports.
There were 2 categories of girls trying out their skills here. The amateur, drawn mainly from secondary schools, and the professional category, players from the Lagos Football Association. Besides the opportunity they are getting of pursuing their dreams of becoming future football stars, the girls here are also drawing inspiration from Oshoala.
I see myself playing like most of Nigerian players and even international players, because Asisat also didn't believe she was going to play as a player, professional footballer. But I also, if I'm picked, I would make everything possible to be like her and even be better, and also help female girls around.
Since Oshoala joined Barcelona in May this year, the Barca Football Academy has been partnering with her foundation and giving technical support at the annual event.
We are proud to collaborate with a foundation with ideals that Asisat Oshoala Foundation shares with us to promote a better society, to develop values, and also footballers. It's the same, the common values with Barcelona.
In the 5 years of its operation, the Asisat Oshoala Foundation has produced some big stars, 2 of whom are playing for Nigeria's Super Falcons and for club sides abroad. She's not here to oversee things as she had always done because of club commitments, but despite her absence, her initiative of identifying raw talents and making them future football stars is still running smoothly. Deji Badmus, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
Finally, a group of non-governmental organizations has come together to train and encourage young girls in South Africa's Alexandra Township, aiming at encouraging them to take up football. The move is driven by the momentum of the country's national women's team, the Banyana Banyana, at their World Cup debut earlier this year. CGTN's Julie Shire now reports.
These little girls from Alexandra Township are playing their first friendly tournament. Many of them have not seen or touched a football before, but have learned to control and pass within just a few weeks of training.
The girls,
they have the purpose, to also feel like it's not just for boys playing football, but they also have a chance also, to be participating in soccer, in football, because most of them already, they've got skills, they've got basics, they've got a very good foundation. So it was just a matter of time for them to expose that talent.
They're part of the Alex Girls Football Development Programme funded by the City of Johannesburg. It extends to 12 schools in the township and is run by a local football association and NGOs, Mavu Sport and the Simpiwe Gludlo Foundation.
We wanted to see the growth of women's football in Alex, since it's been a highlight, especially this year for South Africa. So we decided let's do something for the girls. A biggest worry for us was that there's only one girls team in Alex. I come from Alex. I'm sure there's plenty more of Simpiwe Gludlos, or even better Simpiwe Gludlos, and we wanted to revive that and grow that.
This program could unlock a pool of talent from Alexandra Township, which affords many of these children the chance to become national stars.
We decided let's use football as well, because there's so much that is going wrong in our community. So we are trying so hard to make sure we create a safe environment for the girls. We give them an opportunity to make friends through sport. We give them an opportunity to showcase their talents, and who knows, one day we could find a Banyana player or even an under-17 player in years to come.
But for now, it's about having fun and playing the beautiful game which has long been associated with boys.
Girls, they must learn how to play ball so that they can grow up playing ball for South Africa. Here it is fun. We exercise, do everything.
It's fun and you're going to exercise. When you exercise, you become a super girl or whatever. But you must be interested in yourself.
I like playing football because it's nice, and when I'm playing I feel excited, and then it's just nice, and one day I just want to be a superstar and go on TV.
Football brings hope to many communities around the world, and it's doing the same here in Alexandra as more children take to the field. Judy Shire, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
And that's all we have for you on this week's edition of Sports Scene. Remember, we are always open to your feedback. You can send that to the contacts on your screen now. And why not follow us on our digital media platforms. Once again, thanks for watching. I'm Mahe Mutua. We leave you with our move of the week from Kenya, where boxer Rayton Okwiri knocked out his sparring partner ahead of his bout against the DRC's Augustine Matata.